Hello and welcome to another Bloodletting podcast. I'm Jonathan Coates, and let's get it started with a commercial, or a public service announcement from our very own Jude.
Hello everyone, it's Jude, aka Zeticus, here to tell you about the new Roleplay of the Month setup. Starting this month, the voting is going to be public. That means each of you is going to be able to vote using the same setup I've been using for giveaways. You cannot vote more than once, so if you vote with your alt, the second vote will be removed. From now on, these votes will be open for the last week of every month, and the top 3 threads will be given a prize of blood money. First prize will also be awarded a profile award specifying the month they won. Check the news feed on the front page, the Bloodletting blog, and the Facebook fan page for information. Also, you could mail me if you have any questions.
And that was Judith with her public service announcement, better yet known as Zeticus Zulzerander. But back to the actual topic at hand. I need to give a shout out to all the new green admins who are in the realm now. We have Nora Sargent, Richard Cipher, The Bunyip, Luna Lovegood, Freddie Mercury, Alfred Bester, Sue Wanda Prescott, Aria Channing, Drake Richmond, and Zaria M. These are all the new green admins. Please go give them a warm welcome, and they are there so that they can help you if you need it. Please feel free to go to them and make them feel welcome. And remember, have fun. Now, onto this next segment. I and Jude are going to enact a roleplay, or an excerpt from roleplay that's in the realm. The roleplay, okay, it took me a minute to decide what the actual thread we were going to use until I decided, hey, let's just use Dr. Bombay's. So here's an excerpt from Behind Solemn Walls by Dr. Robert Bombay. She laid there within her own thoughts, just constantly eating at her until she had no more patience for it all. Night after night, devilish ringing would come and sleep would no longer seem worth it. Sprue entered her mind. Robert did as well, torn between 2 lovers, 2 of equal worth, but greater distinguished manners. Loneliness found her, isolation and depression. Where was Robert when she needed him the most? Morning found her as the sunlight hit against her face. It had been nearly 2 weeks since she had taken any of Robert's medicine, and she seemed to be harboring strength pretty well. Maybe it was the distance that destroyed her to begin with. She stood and looked out of the window. Nothing seemed to be ruined. The world she resided in seemed to be holding up pretty well, in fact. Her hands grazed through her hair, bringing it up to a ponytail as she turned away and started getting ready for the day. Today, she would find out where that pesky Bombay had been hiding. Her footsteps hit the wooden floor, barefoot and searching for the tiniest hint of his existence, but nothing seemed to stand out, till she hit the bottom of the staircase and a wicked smell hit her full on. What the bloody hell is that? The furnace under the house where he secretly worked on their condition. That's where he was. She slammed open the door and ran to the side of the house. "Robert, you let me in here right now," she hollered over the sounds of rumbling down within.
The lift shuddered to a halt, the door slid open, and he stepped into his office. "I was wondering when you were coming back." He walked up to her and gave her a peck on the cheek and walked into the kitchen. "I'm hungry. I'll fetch us something." He spoke louder as he entered the kitchen. "That is, if you would still like a taste of old mortal food." A devilish smile spread across his face. He knew that peck on her cheek would light a fire in her belly, and she'd come storming in here in a few moments and start screaming at him to explain what was with his moodiness. Or she could downright come in there and confess her undying love for him. He smirked that was the other extreme end of the scale. He simply hoped she'd choose the first choice and come in there yelling at him.
His kiss had shocked her. Surprised, she glanced where it looked in his direction, but followed after him. "Yes, I'm starving. Thank you for wanting to finally nourish a poor starving girl such as myself." Her sarcasm was plain today. She was in no mood to fight with him, though they seemed to do it so well. Her legs crossed as she sat at the table, purposely allowing her shorts to ride up and show the underside of her thighs. "Where's the paper? I looked everywhere and couldn't find it," she asked him. The real question she searched for was what the bloody hell he was burning down under the house. But she would ease into larger questions later. Now, she needed to fill him out.
"Starving?" he laughed. My dear, you look just as you did when you left this house all that time ago. But that's just as virals. We don't starve like a human would. Our stomachs in the end would just stop, and the acid would eat through us and melt our insides. Robert smiled as he placed the plate in front of her. It's a good thing I started making this last night, and made enough of it. I knew you would come back to me eventually. Also, our paper boy is dead. I may have devoured him. I was in a bad mood one day, and he just looked so scrumptious. The devilish grin was back. As do you, my dear. He walked behind her and tousled her hair before seating himself adjacent to her. So has that boy toy, Sprue, still plotting doom with him, or have you thrown him to the side too? He dug into the plate of food in front of him. I forgot to mention this is a family recipe. It's a casserole made with breakfast items. Bacon, eggs, cheese, ham, etc., etc. Eat up. We need the protein more than anything else. Robert was still wearing his lab coat. If you really want to read the news, you could always look at these. He produced a blank roll of papers from his pocket and laid it in front of her. Hold on, you can't read blank papers. Let me fix that. He pressed the fork against his tongue until it produced blood. Robert touched the bloodied fork to the papers and hissed out a few silent words. Almost instantly, words began to appear on the sheets of paper. There's the news for the day, and from now on, those papers will change for each day. You can have all the news you want. Robert was proud of himself. He'd used his magic in front of her again, but this time he was doing a simple parlor trick compared to the rebuilding of her body he'd done weeks previous.
He sure was feisty. A snarl curled up on her upper lip as she glared at the impossible man, and knew he would be difficult to deal with today. Thanks for taking all the pleasure of being at this god-forsaken place. The fucking paper boy, are you serious? No wonder I saw those signs of warning down the street. She looked off outside the windowed area of the kitchen and tucked her hand under her chin. This would be a long day, this she knew for sure. As she listened to his ramblings and the mention of Sprue, her eyes widened and rolled. I don't know how he is. I haven't seen him in some time. I might stop by later and see if he's all right. Though it's nice to see you take an interest in my life, Robert. How's the hoochie-hoo? She let out a snicker before bringing the coffee mug to her lips, and slowly sipping the beverage and taking a look at the parchment papers he had provided her. Before I forget. She set the mug down and looked closely at the text while asking him the question nonchalantly. So, are you going to tell me what you've been doing under the house, or am I going to have to go look myself?
Oh, I've been plotting your death. His face was serious. He finished the last bit of food on his plate and stood and walked to the sink. And this hoochie-hoo, I've no clue who you're talking about. I've been in the lab for days. Today was a good day. She was back in the house, and soon his plans would come to fruition. He stared into her eyes, those wonderful eyes that made him crazy about her. I'm going to kill you, and Tristan. Simple as that. I'm going to be the last viral. I created you two, and I've decided your time is up.
And that was an excerpt from Behind Solemn Walls, written by myself and including Miss Lasiska LaBelle. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and on a side note, I will hopefully be doing more podcasts, but at the moment I do need questions sent in to me. If you could, send questions to either my Facebook account or Robert Bombay or Dr. Bombay on Bloodletting. I'm just going to get them all together into one thing, and then in the following podcast, if we do a Q&A, I'll answer those questions. But as of right now, the questions that I need are probably things that for Q&A, plus I need some questions that you would ask somebody from the future. This future is about the game. It's not real life future, it's the future of the game. What would you ask somebody who came from the future, who was a character in the game, and knew everything that had happened in the past, and from the time where you were to where they were? What would you ask them? Please send me those questions, and you'll probably hear them answered in a future podcast. Thank you. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Please give feedback on this. We need it as much as possible, and spread the word of bloodletting.org to wherever you can, and I'm sure we can get people in who are going to love it. And you know what? Remember, guys, have fun, play the game, click, roleplay, whatever. And guys, make sure to just have fun. This is a game. We all love it. Spread the word. Thank you for listening once again. Good night.